Welcome back to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by FanDuel and Oak Bridge Wealth Management. I'm Matt Perkins, joined, as always, by Badger legend, the Hebrew Hammer himself, Matt Bernstein. Bernie, how are we doing today?
Dude, we're good, man. Look at these two good-looking dudes. Every day's a holiday on the podcast. Talk about getting hammered. These two, at least Bryson for sure, used to hammer me when I was a little youngin'. Donnel, I'm not so upset that we didn't play together, although it would have been a lot of fun. I have more memories because of it.
Yeah.
But Bryson, thank you for taking memories.
Oh, wait.
It's mutual. Mutually, we have less memories.
But it's great. We got the brothers today, and Matt, I know you'll introduce them, but this is like a really special. It takes a lot to get you two guys on together, and with the technical difficulties we usually have, we are thrilled to have both Bryson and Donnel Thompson joining us. Linebackers, good dudes overall, fun to be at the bar with, all those things.
Thanks for having us, brother.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, well, let's hop right into it. You guys growing up in Madison, you know, I'm sure that there was Badger mania around you all the time, but let's go before that. Little Thompsons I assume just kind of like beating up on each other all the time growing up. Like, what was your household dynamic as like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds?
Certainly there was a lot of wrestling and certainly there was a lot of fighting. Our father was a very big man, and so there's also capital punishment when we didn't listen, which was quite often.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't a democracy. It was a bit more like a dictatorship. So but it worked out. So a lot of wrestling, a lot of fighting, but it was a lot of fun.
And then at some point we just realized we were both too big, and we're like, okay, we got to stop fighting.
That's right.
Too much pain in the living room, I'm sure. So when does football come into your life? And Donnell, I would assume you're the first one to put the helmet on, but like, what's that like growing up? Then Bryson, you come aboard, and also I love to always ask Madison guys, like, what is football like? The culture as a young person in Madison playing the sport.
Yeah, so I started first, of course, in 5th grade. I was 10 years old. There was no flag or touch. It was just a tackle, of course. It was actually the Warner Park Rams, and I had a blast. I played like a defensive end, Lawrence Taylor type, and I just wanted to go run and hit shit, frankly.
Yeah, my first years, Bernstein, I just followed him and just was happy to be on the field. I don't necessarily think I had a position. I was kind of like the utility guy that never got in the field, but it was certainly a lot of fun.
Well, see, his first couple of years, he didn't necessarily love football, so they put him out of a corner. And in Wisconsin, you know, they don't throw the ball, right? And then he started to transition, and then he was a savage by the time he hit 7th grade.
Yeah, I just remember boxing in, stay home, don't let anybody outside of you. That didn't first few years that didn't go well, but at some point I caught on.
So you guys moving through. You're playing. You're talking about being a savage in 7th grade. So now you're in high school, right? Mm-hmm. Football's become much more important to both of you. What's it like? Like, what's high school like for you? Are you guys on a good team? And then, Donna, is like the Badgers cool?
So it was really unique for us. For most of our career in Pop Warner, our father was our head coach. And then he had the credentials that he just went to the high school and became the head coach of the high school football team. And so our transition was always with our father as a head coach, which was awesome. The football programs in Madison itself aren't great. In particular, the school we went to, Madison West, we pulled a lot of professors' kids, which were uniquely smart and enlightened children. But unfortunately, you can't talk your way out of a 1st and 10, right? I mean, it's just you actually got to go hit somebody.
Yeah. I recall. I would say there's a lot of professors' kids and a lot of future baristas. That's what we had going to Madison West. I mean, it's just kids are just loving life, no worries. But baristas don't necessarily make for fantastic football players. So yeah.
But it was interesting if you went to one of our games because we both played defense. The only thing you heard on defense was Thompson on tackle, Thompson on tackle, Thompson on tackle. So we got really good at tackling.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that. Were you guys both playing linebackers? Were you both was Donnel. You said you were on the D line, like a linebacker. Because I believe that to be true. I believe you guys were crushing dudes. What's it? Tell me, just paint me a picture of like what the defense looked like.
So we probably only had, call it 50 or 60 guys in the team. So we played both ways. We essentially never came off the field. I played fullback on offense, and then on defense, I was middle linebacker. And then Bryson was oversized free safety and just knocking kids out. It was absolutely ridiculous.
My shoulder pads were just way too big. But that's back in the day where you just had the big shoulder pads. You're like, you thought they were cool. And you look back and like, why are my pads so big? But it was playing safety was a lot of fun because if they ever got past Donnell, which was rare, and they threw the ball, which was rare, there was a really good opportunity for me to send a message. Let's just say that.
Well, you guys also weren't necessarily the only hard hitters on that squad because you guys overlap with Jeff Mack as well.
That's correct.
Yeah,
But you're saying, hold on, you guys are saying it's both of you and Jeff Mack? That's like a nightmare for me in life. Although I love seeing you guys and being around you, I don't want to be on the football field against you three.
Oh, I would agree. I mean, there was a kid, we played La Follette High School, which is a crosstown rival, and some kid ran a post, and Bryson hit this kid. I mean, kid never got up. It was just completely obliterated.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays that might be received a little bit differently, but it was certainly a highlight for me. It was a lot of excitement. But when Jeff and I played together there, it was funny because we both played linebacker / I played safety a little bit too, and he was the tailback. I was actually the fullback, so it was a lot of fun. So he and I we'd switch up on occasion, but it was a lot of fun. So
you guys talked about your dad being the head coach. Is he filtering like letters from colleges? Like how does that work?
Well, first off, to Bryson's point earlier, it's a complete dictatorship. Okay. And so like where everybody else is like going out on Friday night or going out on Saturday night, the Thompson brothers were not, at least I wasn't. It's being the oldest one.
Me either.
We were back watching film or whatever have you. And then, yes, he was the one bringing in all the different letters, screening the calls. And he really enjoyed that part. He didn't always enjoy the parents, but he enjoyed that part.
But is for him, is Madison important, or it was what's best or the best college?
You know what? Growing up, I know this is hard for people to believe, but Badgers were terrible. I mean, terrible. If there was 107 teams in Division I, they were like 103 or 102. I mean, they were really, really bad. And so while people enjoyed going to the game, and my dad actually went to the show and would work out with some of the guys that played on the team, there wasn't this strong passion and loyalty from my father's perspective as it relates to the Badgers.
That's just so interesting. Like, it's so different. I guess when Barry took over his later years, like if you were a Madison kid good at football, if you weren't going to, UW Madison, that was wild.
Yeah. The only thing I would add, Bernie, is pre-Barry, there was the old block of cheese W. Remember it was before the motion W? I mean, it wasn't not cool, but I mean, it wasn't the coolest. So, I mean, that also was something as well where you're like, we always loved the Badgers, but it was just a different vibe. It was a totally different scene when Barry came in town and started to kind of turn the team around.
I mean, let me give you perspective. Pre-Barry, cars freely drove up and down Regent Street. There was no beer gardens, right? There's no gates, no fences. You could walk right onto the field. A permar guard, a security guard wouldn't stop you. Like, it's desolate.
Yeah, it's tumbleweeds. It's tumbleweeds for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so Barry takes over. Donnell, you're first up. You're getting letters, I assume, from a lot of colleges. Can you rank at least a couple that you remember, and why was Madison on that?
So most of my interest was Big Ten, so Michigan State, Iowa, so on and so forth, Wisconsin. But honestly, I probably would have ended up at a small Division I school based upon where I was getting recruited. But then my senior year, I break my arm. And I missed my entire senior year, essentially, except for, I played maybe a game and a half. All the calls stopped all the letters stopped. And then I'm like, what am I going to do? And so that was my senior year experience.
And football was, I mean, obviously football is very important to you. You guys both wanted to play at the next level. So then keep going with when does that turn around? Like how does Madison even become an option?
So fortunately, my mother was a principal and my father was a teacher as well, besides a coach. And so I had really, really solid to strong academics. And actually, Coach Palermo walked up to my school and we sat down and had a conversation. And Coach Palermo, of course, was assistant head coach, defensive line coach at that time. And it gave me a chance to be a preferred walk-on. And probably a big part of that was how big of a recruit Bryson was. And so let's absolutely bring this guy out, give him a chance. And that's all I asked. I said, are you going to give me a real chance to compete? And he looked me in the eye and said, yes. And I was like, all right, I'll be there in camp and let's get it.
That's amazing. The walk-on culture to the Hall of Fame must be, I mean, we'll talk more about that later because that journey's like outrageously amazing. And dudes have done it, which makes Wisconsin special. Although I actually think it's not viable anymore. Like the walk-on cultures, we could talk about this later with all the other things that are going on. Like,
yeah, there's some.
But Bryson, tell me, why is Madison important to you? Your brother's, a preferred walk-on.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to play with him, or you're just like, man, so that's it.
Well, I mean, great question. I think first and foremost, I mean, I've always looked up to Donnel, and I still do to this day. So, him going there obviously had a big impact on me, and but at the same time, I try to remain balanced in terms of like different places recruiting us and things of that nature. And I recall University of Iowa actually was pretty high on my list at the time. They had Hayden Fry and some other folks there that were really, really good. They had that great team. Remember the barbed wire tattoo? Tim Dwight, remember that? So cool.
Oh, yeah.
But anyways, that was really cool back then. I know it sounds terrible now, but it was really cool then. So I just remember Wisconsin and Iowa being two of the big schools I was really looking at. But when I visited Iowa, it was a lot like a smaller Madison, but just further away. And with my brother already being here and already having exposure to that, I knew where I was going to go. So it made that decision relatively easy. You have the chance to play with my brother again and be around him. So that made the choice pretty easy.
And he had such a cool experience. You have to imagine that because he's 2 years younger, his junior and senior year in high school, he would just come hang out with us in Wisconsin. And so he's getting a chance to understand some of the bars, not really the bars, but certainly the cocktails and the benefits of being a football player and the campus. So he had a really unique junior and senior year.
On occasion, I had some exposure to some of his experiences. On occasion.
Well, I actually want to ask you, Bryson, about some of that exposure. I mean, you had been going to these games and parties and events for a while, but What was your official visit like? What was different about that? Who was your host for that? And how did that play out, already being so accustomed to everything in and around Badger football?
Yeah, that's interesting. My host was Tony Williams. He was running back at Wisconsin. Tony Williams, good guy, really good guy. Wow. So I mean, sometimes you just got to have a candid conversation with somebody. So I just told him initially when we linked up that it was almost like a relationship. I said, you're a nice guy, but this isn't going to work out. And I just said, I know you have some per diem. And I'm not going to take all your per diem, but how about we just split this? And I'll take some money, you take some money, and this is per diem, guys. This is above board here. And I just said, hey, I'm going to go hang out with my brother if that's okay, and you can go do whatever it is you do. And that's kind of what we did. I mean, it was no knock on him. Again, really nice guy, but I just knew he wasn't super thrilled to hang out with me, and the feeling was mutual. So we just, that's how that went.
He shook down his host.
I said, give me big bills. I want big bills.
Only big bills. Well, what's funny is at the time, I think we only got $60 for the entire weekend. Yeah. 40. It wasn't like you're not shaking down NIL money. We're shaking down $30 possibly for the entire weekend.
It was like 320s. That's what it was, guys. So it wasn't much.
Okay, so Donnel, you were basically Bryson's host visit. Donnel, what was your host visit like?
Walk-ons didn't get visits, right? And so,
interesting.
I was just like, I'm coming. And so when I showed up, my first day, official day on campus was seminary. And, this is just unreasonable. It's probably swung too far now this way. But, there's no air conditioning. It's cinder block rooms, right? Like, you couldn't bring a fan in at the time. And we were in seminary for 21 days. Every day was 2-a-days. And the only reprieve was half pack, right? Like there was no days without pads or days that you didn't have two. Like you either had shoulder pads on or you had full pack every day for 21 straight days. We had guys escaping in the middle of the night. I swear to God. We had guys actually sneak down the stairs, take the keys, and run away from seminary. That was my first experience.
True story.
I cannot believe you showed up on a seminary first. It's actually worse than showing up on a Tuesday doing the stadium stairs. All right, so completely different. So this is so interesting. Yeah. I did not know that they didn't do preferred walk-on visits because I thought nobody signed yet. So you didn't know if anyone was up. It's so interesting that was your experience. And Bryson, your experience is so much different. Although shaking down your host person is a way different experience. I would have begged to have you. I'd have been like, here's all the money. I can go do whatever I want to do and not show somebody around Madison. Would have been amazing. With Donnel, Bryson, so what's your first day like? You're so ingrained, I guess, in this culture already, but then you actually become part of the team. What was that first day like?
Yeah, it was, I think it may have been seminary or something too, or maybe we're just meeting the new recruits or what have you. But I remember just meeting some of the new guys and, in the late summer, and I remember Conroy and some of those other folks, just kind of hanging out with them. I would say my first few days really was just getting orientated with some of the different folks that came in my class, getting touring the facilities, getting really excited about that, and just eager to play. I just remember that being a thing where I didn't care if I was the kicker, the guy, holding the Gatorade bottles. I just wanted to get in the field, and it was different back then where you just red shirt. What's a red shirt? I just wanted to play right away. So by any means necessary, I just wanted to get in the field. That was my mentality.
So Bryson, tell us about your first seminary thoughts. Donna already said it's unreasonable, which I think is a perfect word. Bryson, your thoughts and what it was like. It got easier as we became seniors, like upperclassmen, but only because you knew how much it sucked and you knew you could bring a fan at that time. That was about it. There was nothing else enjoyable about football camp besides being with the dudes. So I would love to hear what you thought.
Yeah, well, there's a few things. I came to Wisconsin as a strong safety, but they kind of knew hey, this guy's going to be a linebacker. But I hadn't necessarily arrived there yet. So I hadn't mentally arrived there. I still kind of thought I was a safety, for the record. So, and I had Coach Elmation as my coach. And Coach Elmo is a great guy, but boy, he has a way of conveying a strong message on different things. So I learned probably early on in seminary that okay, this safety thing, although I like it, may not work out. Maybe I'll end up being in a different position, like a linebacker or something of that nature. And it wasn't because it was a bad experience. There was just a lot going on. So for me, my first seminary was it was enjoyable to be at safety. I had a lot of fun, but I just realized that maybe the quickest path for me to get in the field was to a different position. And that was something that was kind of enlightening for me. And I generally loved just the amount of contact we have, whether it was 7-on, whether it was inside drill. I just loved the contact, as you know. I just loved that aspect of it. So just couldn't get enough of it.
So what is that linebacker room like with the two of you in it? What are meetings like? And, what's just the overall dynamic in there when you guys are watching film together and practicing together?
So the room has so much talent, right? So when I first get there, it's Pete Monty, who might be the best middle linebacker of all time at Wisconsin, and certainly the all-time leading tackler.
No doubt.
And then, from there is myself and Godorsey, who I think are top 10 linebackers of all time. At a certain point, you have Nick Greisen, and you have Bryson, you have Jeff Mack, you have Roger Knight. There was so much talent. And all of those names, everybody went to the NFL. Everybody went to the NFL. And so, it's that type of room. And then you have Coach Cosgrove, who has such attention to detail. It was just shocking. I mean, we would start a period over for a wrong step. I didn't say a mental error. I didn't say a missed tackle. You stepped the wrong way. We would start the whole period over or extend it. And so the room was dynamic, but the detail and the focus was shocking.
Yeah, I would say half the room was listening, half the room wasn't listening in meetings is probably what I would say. That would just be my addition to me, because sometimes I was like, if I'm too deep and I'm not getting in, I mean, I'm listening, but come on, man. Like, so I think there was a little bit of that going on. So anyhow.
Hey, listen, I sat on a bunch of meetings behind a bunch of fullbacks going, man, when is lunch? What time is it? Like, is there a gumball I can eat? I'm so
what
bored.
are we having for training table? Like, what's training table today? Like, is it mashed potatoes?
I'm like,
again?
man, we got half pack in the afternoon. We're gonna run power 45 times again. I'm like, this is, and I know, Bryson, you love the contact, but the contact is fun during football games.
Yes.
Not so much over and over and over at inside. I'm happy you liked inside.
Yeah. At some point, you do learn to, try to preserve the body at least a bit.
Well, I try to explain that to people all the time. Practicing football isn't natural. Right? It's like running into a wall 300 times every day. It's just not natural. Like, at least not the way we did it then. It's just
insanity.
Yes.
But it made us who we are today, these special gentlemen. Wait, so we only have Bryson for about 7 more minutes, but I want to add, you guys were part of like the heyday of Wisconsin. We're talking about some of the best teams. You mentioned that room; those are all Americans. Some of the best players to ever play. And if you're a Badger fan, you know these names, right? Like, no matter you span the time. Man, you guys played in some of the best teams probably ever assembled. How like magical was that time?
I'll tell you, it was shocking how good the team was. First off, on my team, my junior and senior year, 21 of the 24 starters went to the NFL. All right. Top 5 defense the last 2 years in the nation. Top 5 rushing offense in the nation. And on this team, Lee Evans, who is maybe the best receiver of all time in Wisconsin.
There's no maybe there. There's zero maybe about that.
He's up there. No
he
question.
wasn't playing. I mean, let me tell you how deep the receiver room was. He wasn't playing. He would have been starting as a freshman, right? Like that's the type of talent that it had, right? And I was talking to Coach White down at actually Eddie Faulkner's camp. He said we played Minnesota to close out the game. There was about 4 minutes left in the game. We ran power 17 times in a row. That's how dominant the team is. It just didn't care. Like, we're going to keep on running the same play. We are just bigger and better than you. And that was Wisconsin.
That's right.
Oh, my God. Well, I got to ask you, Bryson, when a freshman babyface Matt Bernstein shows up on campus and tries to block you,
it was a joke.
What happens, and what's your first impression of my beloved co-host?
Well, I would say first off, I mean, let's give credit where credit is due. Before Bernstein even got in the field, everyone knew who he was. Because just his energy, just his style, just the way he is. When he comes to the room, you know Bernie's in the room. There's no question about that. And that hasn't changed. This is real talk there. So that's number one. So that makes people a little bit more eager to get in the field because he has that much energy. So I would say that when you know that the power is coming, or you know that the ISO is coming, you're just going to try to run through somebody's chin. I mean, that's all you're going to do. I mean, really, at the end of the day, and Bernstein's he's bringing it. He's bringing it every time. So I mean, it was some collisions, but at some point you realize that he can bring it, I can bring it, and at some point you don't need to bring it every single play. You kind of learn from that, and that was kind of a relationship with Bernstein where you knew even early on in his career, you knew he could bring it.
There was a lot of love there, a lot of like. hey, I'm gonna look good, but Bryson's gonna win this one. I don't get MF'd. He doesn't get
That's
MF'd.
right.
He's playing in a game. I'm not playing in a game on Saturday. I'm just standing there with a towel, getting the crowd hyped. Like, these reps are not for
You
me.
doing this with yourself?
I was just doing the towel thing. Like, oh yeah, get the team fired up. I'm like, oh boy. Hungover all the time. Also, sorry, coaches, but that's reality. Dude, I just remember Bryson being the nicest human being off the field. That dude was like my boy. Like, you hit Jeff Mack the same, like, just could hang out all day, talk BS. And then you got on the field and there was no hate. It was just like, boom, boom. Like, we're playing football. We're here for a reason. And it's to win games at Wisconsin. And I thought that was special because it really showed me, like, you don't have to, you can beat up on your friends, but when you get out of there, you can hang out and, like, it can be enjoyable as we lose Bryson. As we lose him. Oh, man. Well, so Donnel, I have to ask you because, shoot, like, and you too, Bryson, now that you're back, how amazing is it? Like, what do you do to try to tackle Ron Dayne? Like, what's it like to look at this dude just on the field?
So when he first shows up, he kind of showed up the way you described when you first did the upper decks, where, he wasn't dressed appropriately, he wasn't dressed in Badger gear. And because of his size, like, I thought he was like, maybe a walk-on nose guard, D-tackle, like I had no idea that he was a running back. And so all of a sudden, once he gets on the field, the beauty and the strength of Ron was he was so big that people like myself would come full speed, like, okay, we got to smash the guy, but he had such nimble feet that you could never hit him head on. And so that's why he ran so many people over. It's very similar to Jerome Bettis, where guys are coming full speed and he puts 2 feet in the ground and kind of feathers inside, feathers outside. And then he's going to run through any arm tackle. You can forget about that. We played San Jose State, and I saw a safety throw his full body into his hip and just do a 360. He never broke stride. He just never broke stride. It was ridiculous.
Hey folks, before we continue, I want to remind everyone tuning in that we continue to be proudly presented by Chris Anicetti and his entire team over at Oak Bridge Wealth Management. If you're a collegiate athlete or parent of a collegiate athlete navigating NIL opportunities, Chris and his team are here to help maximize your earnings and protect your future. We all know that athletes train hard to be the best on the field, but who's making sure they're winning off the field? Chris Anicetti and his entire team at Oak Bridge Wealth Management. That's who. They don't just manage your money. They handle your entire financial world. From building a rock-solid financial plan tailored for athletes to paying bills, budgeting, setting up LLCs, and securing financing for cars, equipment, and whatever else you need so that you can focus on your game. Your career is short. Make every dollar count. Oak Bridge Wealth Management, where athletes build lasting wealth. Get in touch with Chris on Instagram at oakbridgewm_Anicetti. That's oakbridgewm_ANICETE, or head on over to their website at oakbridgewealthmgmt.com. Chris Anicetti, Oak Bridge Wealth Management, they've been helping a lot of NCAA athletes and professional athletes get their money right. There's no one else better for this around that you are going to find. So make sure to get in touch with Chris and support the people who support us. All right, we're going to hop back into the show. So we're talking about Ron Dayne, and we got to talk about those Rose Bowl teams because those were obviously some of the most special teams and special times in the history of Wisconsin football. And so, going into the 98 season, before you guys had been to the Rose Bowl, going into that 98 season, did something feel different? What was the mood? Did you guys know that could be a truly special team?
So it's interesting. The year prior, we went to the Outback Bowl and we played a really talented but underperforming Georgia team, right? They had like Champ Bailey. It was absolutely ridiculous. Robert Edwards, all these Hall of Famers, first round picks, and somehow we're playing them in Outback Bowl. And they beat us. It's pretty lopsided. And Hines Ward, and after the game, Mac says, I didn't come to Wisconsin to go to Outback Bowls. I came to come to play in Rose Bowls. And it was almost a battle cry. And we changed the offseason. We added the upper decks. And the intensity in the offseason was unbelievable as related to working out in this team. And I think that set the stage for a really talented, tough, big Wisconsin team that worked like it had never worked before. And we just took off from there.
What's crazy to me, Donnell, is like that you talk about the depth in all these rooms, but that's truly like the depth in the O-line. These were all starters, and the guys who started when I was there were little guys. They're all most of them all played in the NFL. So like even the backups and the recruits were top tier. Not saying there was a drop off after that, but like that to me is fascinating. Like you had this window of time where just simply the best guys were showing up and getting developed into the best guys, like hitting, as Coach White would say, your genetic ceiling. And just, I mean, it just must have been so special to win one, then go in and do it again.
Look, Mark Tauzier couldn't get on the field. Let's be clear. He played a decade in the NFL for the Packers. He was going to transfer. It was so unlikely that he was going to play at Wisconsin. He was that close to transferring, and then Hughes talked him to come back. Now, mind you, we'd have games, we'd throw the ball 6 times. We had 8 wide receivers go to the NFL. The 4th-string guy went to the NFL. Ahmad Merritt. Have you ever heard of Ahmad Merritt? Like, it's ridiculous. The talent was absolutely shocking. I think we had 7 tailbacks go to the NFL, 2 to just transfer to other schools. Aaron Stecker couldn't play at Wisconsin at running back, and so he transferred to Western Illinois, became the National Offensive Player of the Year, and then played a decade in the NFL. But he couldn't play at Wisconsin. That's how deep these teams were.
Man, it's so cool. So we got to talk about, obviously NIL didn't exist, transfer portal kind of, but not really. You could transfer, but it was a real pain in the butt. What was the feel of Madison? Like you'd go walk around. I mean, you had to go to class at some point. When you walked in, you must have been a complete superstar.
Well, it was. I got a kid being the local kid, right? Coming from Madison, that by itself, it didn't happen that often. Where somebody that was from Madison, that played football in Madison, that was relevant in Madison, then actually went and played for the Badgers. Period. But then to be a starter was the next level, and then to be a starter on a really successful, talented team took it to the next tier. And so I was in the business school, and so the academics rigor was pretty challenging. That part was very, very serious. But, Saturday night after a football game, the KK, I mean, you forget about it. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. Lines 4, 5, 6 blocks long. The football team wouldn't ever wait in line, right? We just walk right in. I didn't care. Because there was no NIL and because the scholarship funds were so minimal, I remember me and my roommate, Eddie Faulkner, who's now running backs coach for Steelers, we would walk in the bar with $5 combined and walk out having 17 drinks and still the same $5 in our pocket.
I remember coming out with I'd go in with a 20 and come out with 2 5s and a 10. And be like, how on earth did this happen? And be hammered. Like, yes. I have no idea how I got home, but I got home. And I ate something. So I was like, This is so no NIL, but there were some definite benefits to being a football player in Madison and being super successful. It had its perks, let's say.
Oh, for sure. It was a really, really good time. And then having 2 roommates that were history majors, I mean, you just walk into the apartment and it was just debauchery.
It's debauchery. So Donnell, I have to say, one of my biggest dreams would be, Matt Perkins knows this. Well, I have 2 of them, would be an honorary captain. I think it would be one of the most coolest things to ever happen. And then another thing would be in the Hall of Fame. I know some of these are big time pipe dreams. You've done them. You've accomplished this. What does that mean for a Madison kid, right? A walk-on we'll talk about the NFL in a second, but to me, that's the coolest thing. I'm not even a Madison person. And I think it's probably the coolest thing that could happen in life.
Well, it is both an honor and it's just such a cool experience, right? So most of the time, if you're coming back as honorary captain, they let you talk to the team the night before, which, there's some pressure associated with that, right? Like it's the Wisconsin Badgers team. They may or may not remember you in this room, and you got to tell a message that's relevant and motivating, and call it 3 to 5 minutes, whatever time frame they give you.
Yep.
And so that was a lot of fun. It was motivating. The first time I did it was actually myself and Chris Cadorzi. We did it together, which was a lot of fun because we put linebacker together. For those who don't know, and then walking on the field, it was just so cool. At the time, one of the other captains was Russell Wilson, so it was one of those teams. It was a night game. It's just like, all right, this is fantastic. And then afterwards, they actually give you the coin that was flipped, or some coin that looks just like it.
Sure.
And so that's just really, really cool, man. It's shocking. And then the Hall of Fame, man, it's just so humbling. When I think of the names that are in the Hall of Fame, man, anything from Michael Finley to Chris McIntosh to Ron Dane to Joe Thomas to Joe Panos, and then Donnell Thompson's right next to those names. Man, that is really, really shocking and such an honor. It was really interesting. I had a 360 moment being a Madison kid. We grew up 4 blocks away from the stadium, and my dad would work out in the shell, which is right adjacent to the stadium, and he'd take us with us. We were always in the gym with him, which is probably inappropriate because we were 5, 6 years old, whatever. But we were always, so we probably walked down to the shell 10,000 times in my childhood, right? Just because my father was always working out. Well, when you get inducted in the Hall of Fame, they put a plaque up. And so they all tell us to meet over by Gate A outside the stadium, right where the Coach Alvarez Stadium is. And they take us over to the wall. And the wall where they put your plaque up for the Hall of Fame is the wall of the shell, right? And so it's like, holy cow, 40 years later, my name is on the shell, and just it's complete 360, and it still raises the hairs up on my arm now, man. It was awesome.
What was it like when you got the call? Do you remember who called you? How did you find out that you were being inducted?
It was Chris McIntosh, which was really special. He's obviously the current athletic director, but we were teammates and co-captains together, seniors together, and he calls me, and Chris and I have a really positive relationship, good relationship, but he doesn't call me without purpose very often. And so, he's talking for a bit, and he's talking about travel, and I'm talking about my travel. And then he just stops and is like, "You're going to the Hall of Fame." And he essentially knocked the air out of me, man. It's just like, a Madison, a walk-on, going to the Hall of Fame? That I'm not sure it's ever happened, right? And so that moment, it was just shocking. It was hard for me to believe. Yeah.
So I can't even imagine. I just want to do one of them, please. Anyone listening? But how much did Bryson just must have been thrilled for you, right? To be part of your entire journey in football. It just seems like it would be so cool, right? He followed in your footsteps. He was on the team. He was productive. Like, he must have been like, nah, that's me too. We're both up here.
Yeah. So it's really fun. We're brothers, obviously, but we're also best friends. Mm-hmm. And so he's one of the first people I told right away, like, I'm going to the Hall of Fame. And he's like, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, we were just unbelievably elated, man, excited. And then they just do such a good job of it now, man. Like, Joe Panos explained his experience. It was like a tent outside. And now they have a brand new building they built right down there. Like brothers, you can invite your entire family. They bring each person up on stage with Matt LePay, who's the voice of the Badgers. And they kind of walk through your Wisconsin experience, relevant stories, let you say a few things at the end. And man, it was just thoughtfully and tastefully done, man. And I had my high school coaches there, my parents there, my wife and kids, my son and his kids. It was just shocking, man. It was just really positive experience.
And I guess for your parents, your dad must have been like, holy moly, this is the best thing. Like I know my dad like loves my experience in football and loves some of the things that have happened because of it. But like your dad took you on that journey too, and then got you played at Madison, being a Madison guy, like he must be, I don't even know if there's a word for it.
They're both so proud, my mother and father. But to be clear, we would not have accomplished any of this without him. And, so the only thing he ever asked for was a thank you, because it's like he got us in the field, he got us in the pads. And what was probably most important, and I tell young parents this all the time, is teach the kids passion, right? To get them to love the game. And he did that, and he taught us to be physical. And, you can get all the other stuff, the strategy stuff and the technique. But if a kid is passionate about it, then you can push, and, they're willing to do anything. And he gave us the passion and he gave us the physicality. And if you go to Wisconsin, you got those two things, you got a really good shot to be successful.
I mean, passion and physicality is kind of the MO of Wisconsin football for the last 3 decades, more or less. And I mean, you talk about that passion, physicality. Coach Kaz also preached that in spades. We know we had him on, a couple months ago with Clint, sharing some stories. And I just imagine that with that competition, with all of you future NFL players being so physical, that it just how did you guys compete with each other to make each other better on that everyday basis with Coach Kaz?
Coach Kaz is a special coach. He actually did the induction speech for me and introduced me. And so that was really special. He actually taped it and they played it, and I didn't know that he was doing it. So it was really thoughtful. But our work ethic was, it was shocking, man. Like, I mean, you couldn't get hurt. If you got hurt, everybody else in the room was so good, you were never gonna play again. And so the work ethic and what people were willing to play through was shocking. It just, if you had to jump off a cliff, you had to run through a wall, whatever it was unbelievable. But then the football intellect in the room was also unparalleled. Like, you couldn't make mental errors. There was no alignment errors. Wisconsin football does not make mistakes. It does not make mistakes. And that manifested itself in a top 5 defense 2 years in a row. And so that was that room, this unbelievable work ethic, discipline, and everybody's smart as hell. I mean, smart as hell. And that's Wisconsin linebacker, and that's what Kaz recruited. And then his attention to detail and then his passion. I mean, if you screwed up, Coach Palermo, Kaz, God help you. I promise you. and if you screwed up too many times, you weren't going to be on the team. Like, there was none of this, like, or you'll be on a bench, you'll find some other place. They wanted their scholarship back. And so they just get those guys completely off the team. And so you weren't messing up. That's 100% sure.
You were not. The mental errors, it's funny, as I watch football now, and I'm sure, Donnel, you watch the team, that's what haunts me the most. It's not like missing a tackle because you just missed and the guy's good. It's the mental errors, the alignment issue, like those things. You can't take that out of you, because I can almost hear on the back of my shoulder, like Palermo screaming at me. He wasn't even on the offense, and he would yell at me. So, you got like Huber and like Coach White, or like a bunch of other dudes. You're like, oh man. So now when I see it, I'm like, oh no, you can't do that. I sound like Coach Alvey when he gets fired. I'm like, you can't do that.
We got guys.
So, oh man, but it's true. Like, and I think that's another MO, was you really did have guys who didn't make mental errors. Like, the guys were sharp, whether you did well at school or not. Your football IQ was pretty high. It wasn't a bunch of dummies out there running around. They got you ready, and you were doing the right thing most of the time.
I mean, it absolutely helped me make the NFL. I mean,
yep.
As it relates to the defense, we were essentially putting in a new defense every week. Like, that's like learning a foreign language weekly. And people have no idea. It is a book this thick, and every week we were putting in a different defense. And then I had to call it, and I had to know where everybody lined up. And then when somebody was lined up wrong, I had to correct it. If I didn't correct it as a middle linebacker, I was wrong, right? And so that's every week. And so for guys to have the ability to digest that information and then act on that information in a 6-day work week and then make no mistakes, that's just shocking. I mean, it's shocking.
So on the field, we haven't really talked about some of those teams that you played against. So I've got a couple quick questions about that. First, what was your favorite away stadium to play in?
Ooh, favorite away stadium, Ohio State, because you just hated the fans so much. They're just terrible people, and they're such good football teams. My freshman year, we have Chris Mack at left tackle, Jerry Wunsch at right tackle, both first-round picks. Aaron Gibson, who's the biggest man in college football, is coming off the bench. And they'd put him at tight end. And then we run power O, which is tight end down, right? Mm-hmm. Tackle down. There's stories, if you walk up to right now, Mike Vrabel or our head coach, Fickle, where Aaron Gibson almost broke Vrabel's back. Like, he's playing defensive end, and it is a down block, and he's a 420-pound man at 6'8". It is shocking, and that is Wisconsin football. It was just unreasonable, us moving other men against their will. That's
kind of the best part about football, though.
Gibby is also Bernie's white whale for guests on this podcast.
Really?
He's always like, yeah, Bernie, I'm in. And then we just we can't get it together. I need him, man. I need Gibby. I just want to ask him about the scooter. He had the smallest scooter. First off, he is every question to, will a helmet fit my son? Yes, we had Aaron Gibson. Rydell had to custom make a helmet. Like, that question gets asked every year. It's like going to SOAR and asking the same stupid questions like, where does my kid get toiletries? And then the scooter. Hey, can my kid actually get on a scooter? Like, will it work? They're like, yeah, Aaron Gibson had the Raz like 150 cc. Like, the thing looked like it looked like a I don't even know, like a little teeny tricycle, supposedly.
And mind you, we're all riding those scooters, especially Gibby, in the dead of Wisconsin winters. Right? Like, the talent that it takes to if you're a normal-sized human being, it's pretty shocking. But if you're a 6'8", 400-pound man plus, that is unbelievable. But do you have a relationship with Jesse Mayfield?
I love Jesse.
Reach out to him. He'll get you Gibby.
Okay. I love that guy.
Doing a little producing here on the show.
Yeah, I love it.
Who was the toughest opponent for you to tackle?
Here, the teams in the Big Ten were different, man. They were different. Like, I'll get to the tackle part, but remember, this is a Big Ten with Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Antoine Randall, right? Plaxico Burress, right? Like, it is shocking. It was probably 10 to 12 first-round picks of Ohio State, the teams we played, another 10 to 15, University of Michigan, Penn State, LeVar Arrington, Andy Katzenmeyer. Like, this Big Ten is shocking at the time. As it relates to really, really tough teams, Iowa with Tim Dwight and Tavian Banks was really shocking. A-Train at Michigan was just really, really talented back. Duckett at Michigan State
Duckett was a load.
250 pounds, just huge trunk legs. He was a hard guy to tackle. Man, we just had so much talent in the Big Ten to win. I'm still surprised, right? And because we didn't split it, like, right? Like, what gave Wisconsin advantage for a while is when we split it and we were in the West. This is just, hey, you're going to play just about everybody in the Big Ten, and you got to win. And these Wisconsin teams did. And to go to 2 Rose Bowls, it's just shocking.
Donnel, did you go to Japan and play?
I missed that team. No.
Oh, okay. Because that's when Mike Eccles would call Plaxico Burress and Matt Perkins, right?
That was an amazing story. Story.
I know this is not what we're here for, but you said Plaxico Burress, and then so Mike Eccles used to called him when he went to Japan because they played each other, I guess, right? He was on the Michigan State team, and he'd call him and talk smack to him through the hotel because back in the day, this is a long time ago, you could call, hey, I need Plaxico Burress's room number, and they'd punch him through. And he said he would call him and mess with him, talk smack, be like, I'm going to lock you up tomorrow. Like, dude, when you mention the Big Ten, it's different. This is the Big Ten that, like, I remember. Like, people talking a lot of smack. There was no social media, so you didn't do it in the limelight. You did it face-to-face. And then it really was whose pads are going to win.
It's 100% right. And again, I mean, both of our corners were NFL corners, right? They could call up another first-round wide receiver and talk smack because they were so damn good. Jamar Fletcher wins the Jim Thorpe Award, right? He's a first-round pick. Mike is 0.2 of a second faster than Jamar. He's a 4.25, 4.35 guy. Like, it's just shockingly talented, man.
It's just amazing. You bring up all these names, and then I look through like the 98 roster yesterday, and I'm like, these guys are all amazing. Like, you really did. Like, you can't even say the heyday. There are no better teams. Not Russell Wilson. You can't even say, because the drop after those guys is huge.
It really is. And I'll tell you this: in the current playoff format with 12 teams, they wouldn't want to see that Wisconsin team because the first round would have been a home night game in Wisconsin with a top 5 defense, right? 2 kickers that are NFL kickers, right? The most accurate kickers of all time and one of the best punters of all time in Wisconsin. And then a top 5 offense as it relates to rushing. Right? And then after we win the first round, we got a puncher's chance, right? Whoever we end up with, like, good luck.
Tackling Ron Dane in the snow is going to be hard for anyone.
Yes.
But you mentioned how many NFL players you had on those teams. You were one of them. When does it dawn to you that, like, holy crap, I can make it to the next level, playing football?
Well, this is interesting. When I finished my career, I was one of a very few 2-time captains, top 10 in tackles, and a top 5 defense, right? And we won 2 Rose Bowls, and we played against all that talent, right, in the Big Ten. Well, that wasn't good enough for the NFL. I wasn't even invited to the combine, right? It was by the grace of God and that we had such a talented team. We both had Ron, who's going to be a first-round pick, right? And we had Chris McIntosh, who's going to be a first-round pick. And that helped both me and Mark Tauscher. It's quite possible neither one of us make the NFL if it wasn't for how talented that senior class was, because when we actually had the Wisconsin Pro Day, all of those scouts came to see those guys, and then they're like, oh, we might as well time this guy. And I tested off the charts. And Mark Tauscher, while he might not look like it, is uniquely athletic for a big guy. Great feet, great hips, very flexible. And so that's what gave us a chance. I don't know that I thought I had a chance if I didn't get invited to the goddamn combine.
Dude, these stories are amazing because this is kind of like why we did this, because nobody knows these things. Like, I don't even know them. I learn all the time.
It's a walk-on that wasn't given a scholarship, that wasn't invited to the combine, and then I make it to the Steelers.
It's crazy.
I show up at the Steelers, and again, like, the way I describe NFL team for most people is think about the best football player you've ever seen, multiply it times 53, and that is NFL roster. These guys from their hometown are the best of the best of the best of the best. Like, they're in the history books. If they walk down the street of their hometown, like, cars stop, right? Like, it's those type of players that all of a sudden you're competing against. And it's in Pittsburgh at a linebacker spot. Like, all these linebackers, it's Levon Kirkland, who's a Hall of Famer, right? It's Joey Porter, who's a Hall of Famer. It's Dermontti Dawson at center, who's a Hall of Famer. It's Hines Ward at wide receiver, who's a Hall of Famer. Jerome Bettis, who's a Hall of Famer, right? It's Bill Cowher, who's head coach, who's a Hall of Famer. Like, it's that type of talent. It's shocking. Even a shit Cordell Stewart is one of the better quarterbacks you've ever seen. Like, this guy runs a 4.4 and throws the ball 80 yards. What is going on?
So when you walk into the locker room, it's the same, like, hey man, I just got to compete. Like, this is what we got to do.
Well, I was so fortunate with the walk-on experience, and then, Wisconsin football. You had to be super productive, which I always was. I mean, the top 10 in tackles of all time at that time. and then tough physically. You can't make mistakes. When that's what the Steelers were looking for, well, holy cow, that's exactly what we were built on. Some other guys would come from other programs, and maybe they were faster, but they made mistakes, right? Like maybe they were taller, but they made mistakes, or maybe they looked better in pads, Tarzan type of thing, but played more like Jane and just weren't very productive. And so the combination of being very smart, making zero mistakes, and then being very productive gave me a chance. And then for me, I strategically picked the Steelers because I knew that they had so much money invested in the starters at the linebacker. They were going to need a less expensive option as a backup. And that was me. I was an undrafted free agent.
Well, then you make your way from the Steelers to the Colts, and you are with, another future Hall of Famer, Peyton Manning. You get a couple other of around, Edgerrin James and Marvin Harrison, and another Hall of Fame coach in eventually Tony Dungy. And so, what was the difference in sort of vibes and culture between those two organizations? And what did you learn from each of them that you sort of took in your post-football journey?
So when I first arrived in Indianapolis, Tom Morris Sr. is the head coach. It was the first time I had a bad head coach. I've always had a Hall of Fame coach my entire life. He was a ex-Marine and just he wasn't a great coach, and he was subsequently fired after that season. But then Tony Dungy shows up, man, and he's different, man. He's the best man I've ever met. It's God first, family second, football third is the third priority. He's the best football coach I've ever been around. I'll tell you a quick story about Tony Dungy. It's actually tragic. So Tony always had his family around. And his oldest son was always around, his family, his wife. His oldest son had a chemical imbalance. And he decided to stop taking his medication, unbeknownst to Tony and his wife, and took his life. Mm-hmm. I have 4 children. I know, Bernie, you have children. If something tragic happened to your child, you would never be the same, right? Like, especially in the short term, you just never be the same. Do you know the next week, this dude started an organization for any father that had lost their son? He would fly them anywhere in the country to a Colts game to talk to him individually, give them a ticket, just for fathers that had lost their son. The next week. Like, just the best man I've ever met, man. Just unbelievable. And as it relates to the players, Peyton's ridiculous, right? Like, Peyton is, his work ethic as it relates to studying, his football IQ is unbelievable. He's tough. I saw him play with a broken jaw, and the media never knew, right? Like, he didn't tell anybody. The first time I meet Edgerrin James, you talk about not judging a book by its cover. When I see him, he's a very dark brother. He has dreadlocks. He has all gold teeth. At least the top is gold. And he calls me over. He's like, "Rook, come here." And I walk over, and I'm expecting some ridiculous story or some ridiculous ask, right? And he starts asking me about my investment strategy and how I was thinking about investments and how I was thinking about my money. And I was like, okay, you can't judge a book by its cover, obviously. Like, he's a great human being. And then we also had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne. Like, that offense was so talented.
Dallas Clark, and Dwight Freeney coming off the edge on defense. And so it was just a really talented team. But my nemesis my entire career was Tom Brady. And so I'd never beat Michigan and Wisconsin. And I'd have 2 Super Bowl rings if the Colts could have beat the Patriots. And we just never beat Tom Brady. He's just that damn good. He's obviously best of all time. But wow, I wish just once had been really nice.
Well, Donnel, you are the best of all time in our hearts. So we can take solace in that, and we can wrap here with a little promo for FanDuel. They've got the Badgers this season at over under 5.5 wins. So our question for you is: will the Badgers go over and make a bowl game this year?
So they will go over. I'm very, very confident in this coaching staff. Fickle. The recruiting classes brought in the last 2 years, top 25, top 30, are really positive. The way the administration continues to invest in the infrastructure with the new indoor field and what they've done in the South End Zone, and then the best fans in the country, right? When you think about Badger fans, all those things combined, with a little bit of luck, I think we'll be on the over.
Back to some Wisconsin football. We're all hoping with a power run game.
We need Donnel to go speak to the team every single home game. On the road, like Father Mike, dude. You just travel with the team and just dispel these great things to get people fired up. I think you and Bryson could do it, man.
I would love it. I mean, Coach Alvarez will tell you that scholarships don't last forever, but if you guys want to fly me in and pay me, brother, I will be there every week. I promise you.
Okay, true. I'll be there too. I actually will fly myself if you give me a ticket. But I'd rather you pay for it. Donnel, thank you, man. This has been great. Bryson, I already thanked him, but what a good dude. You guys, I didn't even play with you, Donnel, and I feel like you're my brother, from the years of being friends. And
same, brother.
Dude, it just means so much. I know Matt Perkins, it just means so much to have guys come back and tell us their story and share. And I just love it, man. There's nothing better than being teammates.
You're absolutely right, man. It's an honor being on the show, man. I appreciate the invite, and I appreciate both of your time. And take two, right? We had technical difficulties first time, so we're back the second time. We kind of got through it, so I appreciate it, man.
Just seminary, unreasonable. That's my whole favorite quote. Seminary, unreasonable.
Oh, it is just
unreasonable.
What world are we in?
How dare your parents drop your kid off at this place with no air conditioning? There's no questions asked. Hey, no, nothing. No doors on the bathrooms? Oh, no worries. Like complete unreasonable. It was I'll get off my pillbox, but I enjoyed the time because you were with the guys. That's all that mattered.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate everyone for taking their time to tuning in to Believe in Badgers on the Believe Network, presented by Oak Ridge Wealth Management and FanDuel. We'll be back again, more interviews. We've got a heck of a guest lineup coming up. Y'all are not going to want to miss this. This was incredible. We'll be back again soon. Until then, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.